We've got a jam-packed edition of this week's Whether or Not. We'll be talking about Hurricane Irma, the damages, and some of the relief efforts going on right now. Kristy's got the details on your forecast that I think you might really enjoy. And Andy's got an informative feature on Beaver Stadium and how they deal with lightning. All that and more coming right up. Whether or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Whether or Not. I am your host, Brian Cizek.
And I'm your forecaster, Kristy Steward.
Well, Kristy, last Sunday we saw another major landfalling hurricane. Hurricane Irma made landfall in Florida as a powerful Category 3, and they saw some damage from storm surge, flooding, and wind damage. Are we going to see any impacts from Irma in our area?
Well, over the last few days, we did actually have some rain showers from the remnants of Hurricane Irma here in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. So are we in the clear, or do we still have to deal with some more rain from Irma?
Yeah, so going into this weekend, I do think that we are in the clear. We actually have a little bit of a warm-up on the way, and we might be seeing the warmest football game of the season.
Ooh, that will be exciting for sure, especially after that first game where you had to wear a jacket, so that warm-up will be a nice change.
Yeah, that was a little bit brutal for the first game, but
Yep, but anyways, without further ado, let's get right into Nature in the News. Agricultural experts in Florida are saying that damage to farms from Irma is some of the worst they have ever seen. The town of LaBelle, which is one of the country's largest concentrations of vegetable and citrus farms, took a direct hit from the storm. The eye wall of Irma went right over the main production area. By the time the storm had passed, it left almost 60% of the fruit lying in the water or on the ground. Many trees were also in standing water, a mortal danger if the roots stay submerged longer than 3 or 4 days. Nearby areas also harvest a quarter of the country's sugar cane, and it is not yet known what the extent of the damage is of that crop. Luckily, the vegetable farms dodged a bullet as the storm hit before most of the fields had been planted. The strawberry crop had also not been planted, but some of the plastic that is laid down in advance of the planting was damaged. However, this is not expected to significantly affect the yield.
hurricane season is only halfway over, and we've seen plenty of catastrophic damage. Between Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, an estimated $290 billion in damages has been incurred, $190 billion of which were from Harvey, making it the costliest hurricane in U.S. history. Hurricane Irma also broke records, including the number of power outages, with 20 million people affected across the United States. From all of this catastrophic damage, thousands of first responders have been sent out from 30 states to help with relief efforts, including Pennsylvania's National Guard. Our National Guard has deployed over 40 members and 4 helicopters to aid in Florida's recovery, half of which were sent straight from Hurricane Harvey relief efforts in Texas.
Scientists from the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado, better known as NCAR, are closely studying Harvey, Irma, and other massive hurricanes to better prepare for these types of storms in the future. Literally billions of data points from these high-profile storms, along with others, are being fed into burly supercomputers at NCAR. This is so future weather models and forecasts can be even more precise for future hurricane prediction. The science has achieved notable advances in just the past decade as computing power and expertise has increased. NCAR has about 500 scientists that work daily to better understand and predict hurricanes, flooding, and other weather events. One tool in development that could emerge in the coming years would offer 3D street-level predictions of floodwater levels even at specific addresses, whether it's the front porch, ground-level windows, or even the roofline of a home. They hope to help people better visualize the impacts of these monster storms, and experts say that the animation of this tool would really help drive the message home for the public.
Nearly 300 earthquakes have struck southeastern Idaho in the last 2 weeks. A 5.3 magnitude earthquake rattled Soda Springs, Idaho on September 2nd, setting off a swarm of aftershocks. Southeastern Idaho is no stranger to seismic activity, with seismically active mountains in the area, but residents have never experienced so many quakes in such a short amount of time. These tremors are from rocks settling into their new positions after the main quake trembled. The earthquakes have been felt from southeastern Idaho to western Wyoming to northern Utah. So far, there have been no reports of structural damages or injuries. If you are ever in an earthquake, immediately drop to the ground, cover your head and neck with your arms, and crawl to an area away from windows and outside walls where you will be protected from falling items. Hello, I'm Kristy Steward here with your Central Pennsylvania forecast. Over the last couple of days, we have been seeing a few scattered showers due to the remnants of Hurricane Irma, but this weekend we'll be seeing some clearing skies and temperatures will be on the rise. We do have a low pressure system that is sitting overhead New England, giving majority of New England a pretty good chance to see some rainfall on Friday, but here in central Pennsylvania, we're right on the outer edge of that chance for some rain. So I think that we will be staying dry on Friday, but we could see a couple of scattered showers. And on Saturday, that high pressure system really begins to set in overhead, and that will start to clear out our skies for mostly or partly cloudy Saturday, and Sunday will be mostly sunny, and temperatures will be warming up this weekend as well. Friday, we'll have a high of around 75 degrees, mostly cloudy out there, maybe a stray shower or two. Friday night, those clouds remain and we'll be cooling down to around 60 degrees. Then on Saturday, we notice that warm up. We'll be flirting with 80 degrees. That's almost 10 degrees above average for this time of year. And we'll have a nice mix of sun and clouds out there. Then Saturday night, the big night in question when Penn State takes on Georgia State, we'll be having fantastic weather at that 7:30 p.m. kickoff, a temperature of 70 degrees, and there will be some clouds in the sky, but overall, a perfect time to witness Penn State make their third win of the season. Sunday, we'll have temperatures still nice and warm in the upper 70s with lots of sunshine out there. Now let's take it over to Andy, who has a feature on Beaver Stadium and lightning evacuations.
Beaver Stadium. It's big, it's loud, and it can also be dangerous. When hazardous weather strikes, it's up to Penn State officials to evacuate the stadium to help keep visitors and fans safe. Lightning, one of the most brilliant displays of Mother Nature, but also a deadly one. Lightning kills on average 49 people per year in the United States alone. Pam Soul, an emergency manager for Penn State, helped develop a plan to evacuate Beaver Stadium if lightning nears.
The first step is that we have a meteorologist that is up in the fourth floor press box with us, watching the tools that meteorologists use, the radar and those types of things. They would advise our incident command if they felt that it was going to impact the stadium, and they would talk to our executives, which include the athletic director, the president, the vice president of finance and business, and they would then go ahead and authorize the evacuation.
While Beaver Stadium will be evacuated if lightning nears, it's no small task to move over 100,000 people.
It takes us approximately 30 minutes to evacuate the stadium, and we've done that by doing some studies of after the game, how long does it take people to leave, and then adding a little bit of time to that.
So how do you notify the thousands of screaming fans that they need to take shelter as a dangerous storm approaches?
We have several methods of notifying people if they need to evacuate. We would, of course, use the PSU alert, which will reach all of our faculty, staff, and students that are at the games. People that follow us on Twitter would also see that message. We would also use the Jumbotron and the ribbon boards to give directions, and the public announcement in the stadium would be used to let people know that they need to evacuate.
The university also has a plan in place on where to shelter the evacuated guests after they've left the stadium.
The visitors will evacuate to select buildings around the stadium. That includes places like the BJC, Pagula, the IM building, Ag Arena. So those are the places that they'll go. The people that are in the suites or up underneath the stadium would stay there, and some people would actually stay on the concourse.
If an evacuation ever does occur, the hope is that the game could resume as soon as the storm has passed. However, having fans re-enter the stadium could create even more challenges.
We would hope that we would be able to restart the game. That would be dependent upon how far into the game we were, how long the storm was going to last, and whether or not it would be safe to bring people back into the stadium. Although we have a no re-entry policy, people would, as part of the instruction when they leave, is to keep their tickets or take their tickets with them, and then we'll make sure that they can re-enter when we restart the game. And there is, of course, a process to bring people back in. They would be rescreened and brought back into the stadium for us to finish the game.
While you're enjoying the game, officials work tirelessly to keep visitors safe from hazardous weather. Make sure to follow all guidelines and instructions laid out by officials here at Beaver Stadium. For Weather or Not, I'm Andy Moffitt.
Hello everyone, I'm back here with your extended forecast, but before we look at the work week ahead, I'd like to recap what we're expecting to see this weekend. Friday, we're looking at temperatures in the mid-70s, mostly cloudy out there, maybe a stray shower or two, and then that high pressure system will really take over and we'll be seeing clearing skies for a mostly sunny Saturday and Sunday with temperatures near 80 degrees. And for the work week, that high pressure system will be sticking around, so we'll be seeing pretty similar conditions to what we see this weekend. Mostly sunny skies, and temperatures will be in the mid to upper 70s, which is about 5 to 10 degrees above average for this time of year. So it will really feel like summer has returned for a little while this week.
Well, thanks, Kristy. That looks like quite a spectacular forecast. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to enjoy it. You're not either, as we are going to the National Weather Association annual meeting out in Anaheim, California next week.
That's right, but you know, it is Southern California, so I think we'll be seeing some similar conditions out there.
That is true, and one thing we probably won't see here in State College is lightning. And speaking of lightning, earlier in the show, we asked you, according to the NCAA rules, a football game must stop if lightning is detected how close to the stadium. Is it A, 5 miles, B, 8 miles, C, 10 miles, or D, 20 miles? If you guessed B, you are correct. The current NCAA policy states that if lightning strikes within 8 miles of a stadium, a minimum 30-minute delay must begin before the game can resume.
That's right, Brian, and if lightning strikes within the minimum distance during the delay, the 30-minute clock must be restarted. The current policy was adopted in 1997, but was revised only 3 years ago.
Well, Kristy, I think we can agree that's a pretty good policy. You know, it's important to keep the safety of the fans, players, coaches, and the rest of the staff, and that should be the #1 priority.
Absolutely.
Well, that's about all the time we have for you today on this week's episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Brian Cizek.
And I'm your forecaster, Steward.
Have a fantastic weekend.